Okay, so we are now getting into the real focus of this letter, this particular letter. And what is that? That is the understanding of the 10 spheres. So we're on page 243. It starts the new paragraph almost halfway down, Kuf Chav Beis. And the Alter Rebbe now is going to explain the 10 spheres. What's interesting is he first explains the first 7 middays, and then he's going to come afterwards to explain the 3 seichel. I don't know why he does it in this order, especially we mentioned in the beginning of Tanya, when we got to it the first time, we spoke about the animal soul and the godly soul. By the godly soul, we spoke first about the 3 seichel, and then the 7 middays. First the 3 cognitive abilities, and then the 7 emotional abilities. And the animal soul, we spoke first about the 7 emotions, and then then afterwards the cognitive abilities, because we said that in the animal soul, emotions sort of run the show, and in the godly soul, intellect runs the show. Here, I'm not sure why. Maybe we'll find a reason later, but he starts off with the 7 emotional or middays. A couple introductions, a couple thoughts. First of all, here we're going to talk about it in its source, which means a lot of places in Tanya, we've mentioned, we've referenced these ideas. This becomes the source in the Tanya. We know that the source of it in Kabbalah is, in general, every Friday afternoon, we say Pasach Al-Yo. Pasach Al-Yo basically is there we discuss the 10 spheres in the Kabbalistic form, sources, in the Kabbalistic form, that we say every Friday. We're going to reference that a couple of times throughout the chapter, throughout the letter. But there's the Kabbalistic source. This is Chassidus. The Hasidic source of, and the most basic resource on the 10 spheres is right here, letter number 15 in Iggeres Hakodesh. So now, the grades and the levels, the shades of spheres are infinite. Just like when it comes to, for an example, the colors. Person thinks about the colors. You look at the heavens, the sky could be 1,000 shades depending on the weather, the atmosphere, the clarity, the haze, etc. Take a leaf from a tree. Is it green? There's 1,000 different greens on all different types of leaves. Same thing in, you can say, mint green. Is it military green? Is it olive green? Is it this green, that green? All different greens. Same thing with every shade. It can be all different. And what does that mean? While there are 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, sometimes people try and make it into the 7 colors of the rainbow. You add on the extra few. But there's basically 3 primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. From those 3 colors, you have literally infinite amount of colors. I think someone said that the eye could detect the difference between 10,000 colors. I remember, just as an interesting thing, years ago, I don't know where this came from. Someone said, if you take a magazine with a magnifying, not a magnifying glass, but the real thick one, I forgot what it's called. It's like a thick magnifying glass. And you look at it like a loop. You used to look at a diamond. You actually can see it's thousands of dots. Meaning, if I don't know how it is today with the printing machines, but in the old days, now it's all digital. But the old way with dots, literally, it was thousands of tiny dots of red, yellow, and blue. And when you look a little bit further away, you saw a beautiful color, because that is what makes up all of colors, these 3. But from those 3, you have infinite. Same thing they say with music notes. You have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or as the people know, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, whatever the exact words are. Those are the 7 primary music notes. But from that, you have an infinite amount of music you can make. All different combinations, all different in-betweens, a high, a flat, I don't even know what they're called. But you have all different, I was trying to research it yesterday to understand better how music works. But the bottom line is, the infinite amount of music notes or sounds or music or colors all comes down to either 3 or 7 basic notes or colors. Same things with the spheres. There is no such a thing in this world. It doesn't exist a pure midah. Pure chesed, pure gvura, we don't have it, because it's like a color. Everything is a certain shade of it, a certain mix. You might think I have the strongest feeling of love. It's mixed with 7 different emotions, 8 different emotions, 15 different emotions, all different subcategories of the original 7, because that's how we function. The midas in its purest form, it doesn't really exist because they don't function properly. Pure chesed is not kindness, it's cruelty. Pure chesed would mean that Hashem gave rain. It came down just chesed. What's chesed? We think of chesed means kindness. That's a subcategory of chesed. Chesed means hashpah, giving. If Hashem just gave hashpah, rain would come down 3 trillion gallons at once and come down for infinite amount of time. Because what's chesed? Giving. That's not chesed. That's chesed in the purest form. True chesed is come down in drops. Same thing, you're trying anything you think of in the world. If you take chesed, which its definition means to be mashpia, to give, it's not really what we understand as chesed, as kindness. It's harsh, it's unacceptable, it's unrelatable. So everything, gevurah, to every single thing has a blend. But the foundations, you want to understand what is the core product. What is the core product of chesed, the core product of gevurah, of etc., etc.? That's what we're going to talk about. So that's the first primary thing to know, that we're going to talk about them in the purest form, but don't exist in this purest form. It has to be somehow a mix. And what are they really? We touched upon this a while ago, but we're going to go back now and try and get exactly what are the middays, and we'll know a couple interesting things about them as we go through this. Some of our perceptions that we had until now in Tanya, learning it, not that they were incorrect, but we never went down as fine-tuned. We'll see there's actually some interesting nuances between chesed and rachamim, etc., as we'll go through it. Okay. So let's start here. V'hinei, page Kuf Chav Beis, equal to 243. Here we go. The general 10 spheres, and again, we're doing this why? We want to understand what is the 10 spheres by Hashem. So after we gave the whole introduction that it's going to be similar, but it'll be not the same thing in the beginning of this letter, the Aliyah begins to explain what they are within us, and from that we can extrapolate what are 10 spheres by God. So he says, when he calls Hayud Spheres Shabbat Adam, it's known to all, but derech klal, and he says in the handwritten original, we don't find these 2 words, so we could go past it. In general, every single one, or not everyone, the middays in general, we have middays inside of our neshama, our character, it divides into 7 middays. That's what we have. There are 7 primary colors, so to speak, 7 primary middays. The kol prati hamiddays sheba adam, and every single particular, if you want to take now the nuance of 4 trillion different emotions, they say if there's only 7 middays, you wouldn't need therapists. The problem is there's all these fine, complex in-betweens. Just tell me, you're happy or sad? But there's a million different. So all the secondary and individualized particular middays, every single thing comes from these 7. Just like every color comes from red, yellow, blue, every single middah comes from chesed, gevurah, teferes, netzach, hed, yisod, malchus. No exceptions. No other sources. Shehein shirish kol hamidais. They are the source of every single emotion and behavior. Uklalusan shemidas chesed. And all of those really have one starting point. Meaning, while the 7 middays are all the source of all middays, of the 7 themselves, the primary one is chesed. So chesed is the primary. From that you have 7. From that you have a bajillion. So now let's discuss what's chesed. Chesed is a definition we could say in 3 words. L'hashpia bli gvul. He also has an midah. It has hashpah without exception. It just gives, which means I don't care in what you want. I don't care what you need. I care to give you. I am a giver. I don't care if you need it, you don't need it. I'm giving. Best example in case in history is Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu is after his bris. He's sitting in pain in the sun in the desert, and Hashem makes no guest come around. So you would think, if chesed is a need-based or mercy-based or person-based, thing, Avraham should say, Baruch Hashem, no one's in need today. No need. No, I need to give somebody. I need. Chesed comes from within me. I need, as we'll see later, it's a lot of self, unlike Gevurah, which is bittul. Chesed has a lot of self mixed in. I need to give. And you're looking, I need to find someone to give to. I have to find. It's the nature, by the way, of the Jew today, which is a fascinating study for itself. Why Jews are caught up with so many different causes in the world. We're half of 1% of the world population. We're 70% of every cause. Whether saving the whales, saving the trees, saving the woods, because we're looking to, we have to, if we're not giving it in Yiddishkeit or to somebody who needs it, I'm finding anywhere else. It's the need to mashpia, to give. And I gives, I don't know if you need it, you don't need it, etc. So chesed, that's essence form, is giving without consideration of the recipient.
Is it only giving I make a cake and I give it to somebody, or do I say, hey, Avram says to Sarah, hey, Sarah, can you make a cake so we can have, guests? Is that?
It will be the same thing. I mean, the behavior of giving of self, of resources to another. I want to give.
So is that cares for somebody else or for myself?
So in a basic sense, it's a kindness to others. But the source of that is a need within me. Meaning, where does it come from? I have within me, I have a need to give. That's a need. It's my nature. It's my instinct. It's my character. Chesed's nature is to give, to mashpia. And therefore, I have to find someone to give it to.
That's fine, but can you have somebody else make the thing that you're going to give?
Sure. That's the chesed. That's chesed means I have, and I'm going to go, let's say, collect cakes from the baking volunteer and bring them out. But my need to be mashpia, to be a supplier, to be bringing to others, that's chesed. So chesed really, when we translate it loosely in Tanya until now, we called it attraction. Chesed and Gvur was called attraction and rejection, was the closest words we used until now. But now we're going a little deeper, that chesed is not just attraction, it's chesed is the need or the giving nature to give and to give. And we're gonna narrow it down as we go through the next 2 or 3 middays.
So that fits with Avram giving even to the Malachim who don't eat.
Exactly.
He needed to give.
Exactly.
So Hashem was able to send him Malachim instead of people. It didn't matter to Avram.
And by the way,
he needed to give.
Yeah. Right, but meaning Hashem just saw. Does make a very good point. Hashem saw he wants to give. He just wants to give, so I can give it to somebody who doesn't even need it. You're giving, you're happy, okay, you gave. Meaning, did it really help them? We use this as a source, by the way, of a very interesting halacha in Shulchan Aruch. Maybe in Shulchan Aruch we can't learn from here to take care of guests. Meaning, these were fake guests. There's a famous case that they did in the late '80s or mid '80s. I don't know when it was. I remember they brought it up in yeshiva. That's why I know about it. That if they made a law no hunting, and it was forbidden to hunt, and the FBI to bust people put up these decoy fake deer. If you shot one, could you be arrested for hunting? He said, I wanted to hunt, but I didn't. But you shot it. You thought you were hunting. So what was the problem? My intention? Did I actually hunt? Could I be arrested for shooting a fake deer? So what's exactly the thing? So it came to in Chalas Orchim. What exactly is the mitzvah? And the mitzvah ends up being I have to extend myself to the best of my abilities. What they do, I extend myself. Goes into a technicality. What is Chalas Orchim? But in our case here, Chesed means I want to give. And we're going to get a little more fine-tuned once we introduce Rachamim. We're going to see a little more of what Chesed is because we're going to have to separate Chesed from Rachamim. And when we do that, we're going to have a full understanding of the two. But let's take it one piece at a time.
But isn't it a bigger mitzvah if I don't like guests and I still have them?
Yes. There's always in Chassidus, a lot of times we address the difference between a human being and an angel. They say, what's more higher than in service to God? An angel. What's more precious? A human being. What Hashem has more nachas from? It's like the little kid in kindergarten making a picture. If the teacher does it for him, it's a much nicer picture. The kid does themselves, it's not as nice, but it's more valuable. So when the person, for an example, gives tzedakah, and a guy gives excitement and happily, yes, it's a beautiful thing. He's excited. But at the end of the day, it's not really a mitzvah. It's me expressing self. When you don't want to do it, and I'm actually not in a good mood, or that person got me angry last year, or I don't think he deserves it. And I gave him that mitzvah has a much greater value. So when you don't want to do it, you're right. But here we're not talking about what's greater, what's less. We're talking about one thing. What is chesed? And we'll see chesed is not always the purest form good. It's not, on the contrary. Chesed in its purest form is not good. Like I said, Hashem would give rain without any gvura mixed in. It would be ashpa with just a bajillion gallons of water, and it would crush everything. That's why the hand is always considered a symbol of Hashem's kindness in the bracha, because the hand has chesed, which is just giving, and the gevura restricting, so you have 5 fingers that actually function. So the hand is chesed and gevura, the fingers are gevura, they're divided. Suddenly there's a thumb, the different shapes, meaning the function only comes because of gevura. Without gevura, we have just the mittens. We have just like a flat hand, which wouldn't do anything good for us. So gevura is a very integral part of chesed. We don't have one without the other. Mittens are good. Nothing against mittens. Yeah. But you see, that's chesed and gevura mixed together. So it's like this. So chesed lashpia b'li gvul umida. Sorry, b'li gvul. Sorry, the proper word. Chesed lashpia b'li gvul umidas hagvura, and the nature, the midah of gvura is letzamtzem lashpia kol kach or shelo lashpia klal. The nature of gvura is the opposite, either to restrict or to hold back completely. Restrict means I'm giving you but less, like a restriction in a pipe, or I'm holding back, not full strength. I want to fill up a cup of water. I'm not going to use a garden hose. I'm not going to use a fire hose because that's too much. I'm going to restrict it to the level of, but gvur by itself is restricting, holding back. I'm not giving. Now, both of them have, as we'll see, a caveat. Chesed gives without a condition. I give because I want to give. Gvura doesn't give unless there's a reason. So when will Gvura allow giving? If you earned it. For an example, if you go into the office and you work for 9 hours and you get a paycheck, that's not chesed, that's Gvura. Because you're only getting what you deserve, what you earned. So Gvura is not that it holds back completely. It could, but also if you earned it, you can get it. That means if you have a right, a claim to what I have, I'll give it to you. Otherwise not. So Gevura only gives if you have a claim that's just to get from me. In other words, it's din. You deserve it, not that you need it, not that you want. I don't care what you need and what you want. I want to know, do you have rights to it? So if you work in the office for 6 hours, you have a right to my money, so I'll give it to you. If we do certain mitzvahs, Hashem has an obligation to pay us. That's not chesed, that's Gevura. I accept what you're supposed to get. So Gevura means holding back, except if you earned or deserve the hashpah. Chesed is just the opposite. I give no matter what. And we'll see soon there is an exception. Okay. Midas harachamim. What's harachamim? Here's where it gets more interesting. Lerachem al mi sheshayich loshen rachemis olav. To have rachmanis on somebody who has applicable to him the concept of mercy. What does this mean? So it means if someone has a need. Rachamim means I'm a need-based giver. I have no need from within me. It's not about me. I see a need, I fill it. Whether you deserve it or not. In other words, Rachamim, as we'll see, and this is what I want to go into right now at length, is a composite of Chesed and Gevura to create a new existence called Tiferes. Another name for Rachamim is Tiferes, beauty. Why is it called beauty? Because Rachamim is until Tiferes, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes, until Rachamim, until Tiferes, it was only a one color. The first time we have two colors mixed together, or two midas mixed together, is Rachamim. Beauty is only with a blend of harmonious different things together. Music, that's a single note, is not music, it's noise. What makes music into music? When you have different notes combining to create not chaos, but harmony, music. Same thing with colors. What makes a painting beautiful, even a black and white picture, is if you have black and you have white and you mix them together. If you have just black on a painting or just white on a painting, that looks like a background. It looks like wallpaper. It looks like paint. When does beauty kick in? When you have two colors and you make a swirl, you make a design, you make a floral design, you make a pattern. Once you have two, you can create something called beauty. If you have multiple colors, the more colors you have, the more beautiful it is. You have full color, can be absolutely stunning, but only if you have a mixture of things. If you have one midah, one color, one note, it's not called beauty. Beauty is the mix. And the first case, that's the verse, yes.
So it's Rachamim and Gvura, Chesed.
So you have Chesed, Gevura, the first two.
Yeah.
The third one is Tiferes, which also / called Rachamim.
But Tiferet is combined from Chesed and Gvura.
Yeah, it's a combination. It's a composite.
Rachamim?
No. It is
Chesed and
Tiferes is Rachamim, which is a composite made up of mixing Chesed and Gevura together. But it's not Chesed and it's not Gevura. It's a whole new thing. It's not like it has Chesed, a little bit of Gevura mixed in. It's an absolute new creation, which means a lot of times we make the mistake and we think, so Tiferes, does Chesed and Gevura mix together? No, it's not. It's a whole new creation called Tiferes. It's a whole new existence, identity called the blend, the mix, the combination. Why is it so special? Because it makes it no longer about just one of us. It's about you, but as we'll see in a minute, but I'm helping you based on your need. I see your need. So for an example, let's take a case of a stranger. A stranger is having well, I'll get to that in a minute because I want to talk about Rachamim in a minute. Let's just take a simple thing. Someone needs money for tzedakah. It's not gvura because they don't deserve it. They haven't earned it. It's chesed. I want to give them. Rachamim means it's not I want to give them. It's I feel their need. What's the difference? How do you divide it? So we're going to talk about, and I'm going to give the answer to the next question now, but I want to just get a little understanding in it. There's a certain caveat to chesed. Chesed only goes to someone I have some relationship with. Chesed doesn't exist if I have no relationship with you. For example, when I make cookies, who do I want to give it to? Someone I know or care about or love. And I'll give them without them deserving it. But there has to be a relationship. If there's no relationship, I'm not doing chesed to you. The relationship could be is that you're a fellow Jew. That's fine. We have a relationship. But how about a dog that's randomly in the street that I don't know? It's my neighbor's dog, not a dog in need where, again, that could sort of touch me in a certain way. But let's just say a random dog. I have no interest in giving it food. It's not related to me. If I do give it, it's going to be because of rachamim. What happens? I feel the dog is hungry. In other words, chesed is only being given to someone that has a relationship with me. Rachamim doesn't care if you have a relationship. It cares if it has a need. And that's the two things. Let's take a couple examples. Chesed only gives with unlimited to someone who has a relationship with me. Rachamim gives, I don't care if you have a relationship, but do you have a need? They have two different measuring tapes. So how do I know if it's chesed or rachamim? Ask myself. Am I giving because there's a need? Or am I giving because I have a relationship? Now, Avraham didn't have a relationship with these guests, but it wasn't about them anyway. It was purely giving. I want to give, and therefore the chesed was a pure chesed to anything, to anybody. It was just giving on its own. Rachamim means I give because I feel the need. That's why the angels here couldn't have been rachamim because they weren't really hungry. They weren't hungry. There was no need. Down to the real core of it, there was never a need on their part to eat. And therefore, it was purely chesed. It was almost like Hashem said, I'm going to create you a hologram you can give something to. So rachamim is, there's a need. I sense a need for something. I see an animal that's injured. I see a person not part of my community, a Gentile that's in need. It's pure rachamim. It's pure mercy. I don't know this person. I don't know. Why are you helping them out? I see the guy's hungry. The guy's need. The guy's cold. The guy needs. So rachamim is end up going to be much more giving, even in cases where I have no relationship with the person. Chesed will give even if there's no need. See, rachamim will never give there's no need. Rachamim will never go to a person and say, I baked you cookies, and I don't know who you are, but I baked you. That's chesed. Chesed means I'm giving because I want to give, and I have a relationship with you. So there's always going to be, and the reason why that's important to know is because we're going to see in a minute that rachamim has a restriction and chesed has a restriction. There's a person that will not get from rachamim, and that's if you have no need. If you're not hungry, I'm not feeding you. Because what's the point? Rachamim means there's nobody hungry out there who needs food. Fine, I'll sit and read a book. It's a need-based, which means it's not me. It's the need-based. Chesed is, it's me-based. I need to find someone to give. Who do I give to? People I know, care about, and love, and have a relationship with them. Or if I like, I don't have to love them deeply. I can like them. And therefore, I'm baking you cookies. I go to someone's house. They don't need my cookies. You come for dessert to someone's house. They don't need, it's not a need. We need, okay, certainly people here, we need your cakes. We need your food. But in general, chesed means I am going to someone's house. I want to bring something. I love them. They're my friends. They have you for dinner. I want to bring them something. There's a relationship. Another thing is, I'm not going for dinner somewhere, but I'm sending over food because they don't have what to eat. If you're sending over cookies, that's probably because you like them and you want to send them. So usually, rachamim is going to be a need thing. They need food. They need something. They need love. They need money. Chesed is, I want to express my feelings. I want to chesed. And that's a very big difference, but it's easy to miss if you don't take the time to analyze what exactly is chesed. Yeah. Okay. Let's see this inside, and we'll explain it a little bit fine-tuned as we go through it. Umidas harachamim. That's why the wording here seems like it's contradicting itself until you know what I just told you. Umidas harachamim. The midah of rachamim is l'rachem al mi sheshayach lashon rachmanis alav. It is a expression of mercy for someone who needs mercy, meaning they have a need. V'himida mumutzas. It's a mixture. It's in between ben gvura lechesed. It's in between gvura and chesed, because chesed Chesed will give to a person even if there's no rachmanas on him. The guy doesn't need anything. Chesed will give to somebody. You say this guy has no needs. It's like one of the beautiful things about Purim coming up in almost 30 days. Don't be scared. Is Shalach Manas. Shalach Manas is the most fascinating part of Purim. Why is that? Shalach Manas is unique from the other three mitzvahs. Listening to the Megillah reading makes sense. It's tighter. Having a soda makes sense. It's a mitzvah like Shabbos, Yad, you have a soda. Giving tzedakah to the poor makes sense. It's tzedakah. You give charity. Sending gifts of food makes no sense. The guy has plenty of food in his house. Come into someone's house. There's 16 shalach manas on the table. I'm bringing you shalach manas. Why am I sending it to you? Just because expression of love. Expression of meaning, there's no need for it. So we understand from it is a very powerful message. People think a lot of times there are people in the world that are givers, people that are takers. I'm not talking about money or finances. I'm talking about advice and leadership and spiritual guidance. The Torah is telling us that every single person is a mashpia and every person is a makabel. Purim is telling you a phenomenal thing. You know what? You think you are the one that teaches everybody and nothing you could learn? I have news for you. Every single person in the community can teach you something. And you should be willing to accept from them a gift, meaning accept from them guidance, instruction, or hashpah. But this idea of shalach manas means, why am I sending to them? If it's tzedakah, the guy has a need, the guy's hungry. But there's no need. The guy's table is covered. So why I bring it to you? I said it with a joy, and I packed it very nice, especially before they invented all these. Oh, sorry. Especially before they invented. I have to shut my phone off. The noise. Especially before they invented these modern day fundraisers. That a lot of people, it's a challenge. You want to support the things. It's much easier to. But it used to be, and still some people do, is shalach manas to your smaller group. That you send the actual. You bake a cookie, you bake a cake, you bake a challah, whatever. It's pure chesed. There's no need. The person not sitting at home thinking I need something for lunch. You're sending it over as a way of expressing chesed to each other. That's Purim. So Rachmanis, chesed will give even when there's no need. That's the beauty of it. Rachmanis, you're not hungry. Why should I give it to you? I don't have Rachmanis here. Rachmanis means I have mercy on your situation. I see there's a need. He says that's why he says chesed is going to have Rachmanis even on someone who doesn't need it. And a person doesn't have any pain at all. And because it's an in-between midah, it's between chesed and gvura. Nikras teferes, it's called beauty. Teferes, big day teferes derech mashal. Like we say, certain garments that these are clothes of teferes. What does teferes mean? Shehu beget savu begevonim harbe u'ravim bai b'derech shu teferes anoi. It means a garment that is a blend of colors mixed in to give it proper beauty. So true beauty is combination. So what makes Rachim so special? That it's not chesed, which is all about if the person wants to give, I want to give. It's not gevura, do you earn it, deserve it? It's something else. It's a combination. It's I'm involved and you're involved. It has my feelings, I sense your need, and I provide for you. It's not just about me. But again, it's restricted. Because if you have no need, you're not getting. Rachamim does not give to everybody. When you're giving out food, you don't give to anybody who wants it. It doesn't matter if you want it. I don't care if you want it. Do you need it? Rachamim means, do you need it? Whereas chesed is, I didn't care if you want it. It doesn't matter if you want it. I give it to you. And Gvur says, only if you earn it. So there's three different levels. Gvur, you have to earn it. Chesed, I have to have a relationship with you. I want to give it to you. And Rachamim is, do you need it? Do you have a need? I got you covered. But if you have no need, you're not getting cookies because you don't need them. I'll give you, some people need cookies because they're having a bad day. They're feeling down. Yeah. But when you have a garment that only has one color, it's plain blue or plain red, it doesn't have what's called teferes. It doesn't have what's called beauty. It doesn't mean it isn't pretty. You could have a black garment, a blue garment, a red garment. That's very pretty. But to say it's beautiful, it's you could have a sound of a bell. That's a chime. Bing, bing. It's nice. I like a sound. That's a good sound for a bell. But that's not. You can't say, "Wow, such a beautiful." Well, if you have a bunch of instruments coming together, that can be beautiful. So to Ferris, the designation of beautiful only applies if you have multiple things coming together. Okay. Now let's talk for a moment, and we'll see how much time we have. To talk about the next 2 middays. So the first three things And now just understand how it's explained in Kabbalah. Chesed is the right hand. Gvura is the left hand. Because Chesed is always bringing in, meaning I'm including you. Gvura is always pushing you away. I'm not including you. And Tiferes is what's called the torso. A lot of times referred to as the womb, which is the center of the person, which is the central part of your existence. The next two things we're going to talk about is Netzach and Haid. Netzach and Haid are very unique, and we talked about it in the past with two words. If you remember when we talked about it, we said Netzach is resilience and Haid is submission. Why do we say those two words? Because Netzach and Haid are explained as the thighs. When we say the thighs, it means the legs. The legs have two unique things about them. Number one, they're not part of the torso, not part of the main body structure. They're already outside. They're past it. In other words, it's much more about other. Because we're going to see something fascinating here. In this chapter, we're going to be discussing two aspects of the middays. Every middah has its function and its inner feeling. Right now, we're talking mainly about function. You see, chesed is, what does chesed do? Next thing we're going to talk about later in the chapter is, what is chesed? What is chesed inside me? What's that inner part of me? That's not what we're talking about now. We're talking about what is the behavior of chesed. Behavior of chesed is to give. The behavior of gvura is to hold back. Behavior of tiferes is the sense you need. Now we're talking about netzach and haid. Netzach is the right leg, and haid is the left leg. Those are the legs inside being your extensions outside of yourself, more into action. We're going to see that also they actually move. Walk on your hands is your legs. So what actually takes your emotion into behavior? There are many people, you see, in life we have a few things. We have good intentions, which we know how good they are. Good intentions, they're about as good as they weigh. And then you have good feelings. Good feelings means, for an example, I decided today I'm going to start getting up in the morning earlier. I really feel it. It's not just an intention. It's something I want. It's a feeling. It's a midah. I'm going to start learning with my friend once a week. I'm going to start exercising. What takes a feeling, or it starts off as a thought, because the way we function is, it starts off at seichel, it comes down to middays, and then into action. That's how it's supposed to be. Seichel, which is mayach, middays, which is lev, and then kloyis, which we call action, as we'll talk about in a second, is chaf. And we say a true person is a melech. Melech means mayach, brains, thinking, lev, feelings, chaf, action. Or kav, some say the kav stands for kav, the liver. But the bottom line is, it goes thought, feelings, action. That's how you're supposed to function in everything. I think it's a good idea. I get feelings to it, and I go and do it. The problem is, there's a blockage between both stages. Between thought and feelings, there's a blockage called the neck, Meitzer Hagarin. And a lot of times, Chassidus talk about it at length. We'll talk about it later more. There's a space between, I sometimes know something is right, but I don't feel it. I know something is good, but I don't feel attracted to it. I know it's a good, important mitzvah, a good thing. I don't love the person because my brain tells me yes, my heart tells me no. That's because there's a disconnect. And there's a lot of reasons. I'm not going to go into it now, but there's a lot of reasons for the disconnect. Das is that makes that connection. Das means I can connect it. I can connect. Go to our parsha. Pari doesn't know Hashem. Pari says, I don't know Hashem. No das. Any of that, I don't know God. He had no connection. Moshe is the shepherd that brings das, connection. Moshe is the one that brings the connection to the neighbors there. So das is the connection between seichel and middays. Between middays and action, there's also a break. And it doesn't flow automatically, unless you have two things, netzach and haid. And we'll go into in a moment what they are in the physical body. Netzach and haid is the action. Now, netzach comes from the department of chesed. Haid comes from the department of gvura. Because the way the middays are set and the spheres are set up, there's three sets of three. So if you made a chart, you'd have top right is chesed, gvura, tiferes, netzach, haid, yisoid, and of course on top of that was chachma, bina, das. So the three sets of three are all on top of the other. You're like pillars. So chesed is also the direct parent, so to speak, of netzach. Where do you see in netzach and where do you see in haid their counterparts? That means where do you see in netzach that you have the midah of chesed, and where do you see in haid that you have the mirror of gvura? On the contrary, if you think about it, netzach, makes sense to be chesed because netzach is resilience. That means something is trying to stop me. Usually we say netzach is overcoming an opposition. Here we're talking about internal opposition. What in your own struggle to do something, you have a feeling, I don't want to get up in the morning, and you have resilience anyway. I don't want to go and, to exercise, and you have to overcome your laziness and you exercise. Hoid is submission. How is that gevura? So the truth is, if you want to be a little more technical, netzach, chesed, and gevura one is self and one is bittul. We know chesed is all about love. Love is me. I feel love. I love you. Meaning the more I sense myself, the more I can appreciate the person's love. And that's why when I'm further from you, I love you even more. Why? Because it's that you don't have to be in the equation. I love you, and the further I am, the more I love you. Fear is just the opposite. The closer I am to you, I fear you more. If there's a lion in a cage, or if there's a terrorist, God forbid, somewhere and across the ocean, it doesn't scare me as much. When something is right here next door to me, that scares me more because it's the other that is affecting me. That's it's me feeling me. Yira is me feeling other. Therefore, submission means other control. Other takes me over. So really, what Hoid is bittul. But bittul here could also mean bittul. I'm putting self aside to do what's right. I'm submitting to what's right. Sometimes submission could be I'm submitting to someone who's trying to coerce me, to force me to come on this trip with them, to force me to give stuff, to force me to, come. I'm submitting to them. But also could be I'm submitting to the inner part of me. It could be I'm submitting, I have bittul to Hashem, meaning that's a positive aspect. So both Netzach and Hoid have a resilience, could be a good resilience and a not a good resilience, and Hoid could be a good submission, a bad submission. Have resilience to be tough and strong, not to negotiate with you, not to be agreeable, and I have resilience to do what's right, even though it's difficult. So we're going to talk next week, we're going to go into this at length, what exactly is Netzach and what exactly is Hoid. But the main thing to know now is Netzach and Hoid are the action parts of ourselves. What brings action into our every emotion is Netzach will take me forward in the spirit of Chesed, and Hoid will take me forward in the spirit of Gevura. And we'll stop here and continue in Mitzvah Hashem next week. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, it's your Shabbat today. Hashem should give us the wisdom to tap into the energy of the day, to have a connection with the Rebbe, and to realize and appreciate and talk about the Rebbe's love to us. And I'll conclude with a beautiful short thought from the Rebbe on last week's parsha that I saw that I really enjoyed. You see, I enjoyed it. It was all self. But here goes. It says in last week's parsha that Hashem tells Moshe to tell the Yidden that they should put the blood of the Korban Pesach on the doorpost. And if you do that, Hashem will jump over the homes of the Jews, only going to the Egyptians. And no plague will hit you. Rashi asks right away, if Hashem is jumping over us, there's no plague. You don't have to say shut the light off. If Hashem is passing over the plague over us, so there won't be a plague. Why does it say V'lo Negev? Says Rashi, even if a Jew didn't follow instructions and he went into the Mitzri's home and he's sitting in the same house as the Mitzri, Hashem will not strike him either. Not only he'll pass over your home, but even if you went into the Mitzri home, he'll protect you too. The Rebbe has a sikha on this, but a few lines about it, which is unbelievable. The Rebbe says, think about what type of guy this is. What is the state of mind of a person who, after 210 years of slavery, 10 months of plagues, these are call them the terrorists, call them the Nazis, call them the Palestinians, what do you want to call them? The night Hashem says no Jew should leave their home. Tonight is the first Seder. Forget about the Seder. Who's not going to a Seder? It's the first Seder. Hashem says, stay in your house. Paint your house with the blood. I'm taking you out of Egypt tomorrow. And the Egyptians are all going to die. And he says, I'm going over to Ahmad's house to have a beer. What type of guy does that? A guy is completely disconnected with anything meaningful in his life. Disconnected with what Hashem is, what Pesach is, what Yiddishkeit is, what a Mitzri's opposition to a Jew is. And he's sitting having a beer with that Mitzri. Hashem says to him, I got to take care of him. So the Rebbe says, imagine, I added some theatrics to this, but the Rebbe says, imagine today you meet a fellow Jew and you look at him. This guy seems to be so lost in he doesn't understand. He's a Democrat, he's a Republican, he doesn't go to shul, he doesn't appreciate shul. You obviously stroll to him as to be and concerned and accepting him. Hashem didn't say, you know what, you're sitting at home with the Mitzri having a beer. I don't need you in our program. Our club is better without you. Hashem went against his own rules and saved him, even though Hashem said, don't leave your house. And Hashem said, only if you stay in your house. Hashem saved him because Hashem loves us unconditionally. And the Rebbe said, that's our lesson to us, that we have to have that love. So if you want to sum up, one of the primary things, not the only, but one of the primary things of the Rebbe's leadership is educating us to love each other, even though we do the one other does not that way we think, not what we think is right. They go against it. Whatever it is, it's an appreciation of love of a fellow Jew, just because he's a Yid, just because he's our brother. Anyway, that's that.